Welcome, everybody, to Edge of the Rabbit Hole. We have a fantastic show coming up for you tonight. Trey Hudson, the Meadow Project, in the house, coming up next. Welcome back, everybody, to Edge of the Rabbit Hole. I'm author and researcher Mike Ricksecker. With me, as always, my co-hostess, Victoria Munday, and down in the chat room, Alina, moderating the chat. We have a fantastic show coming up for you tonight. We have Trey Hudson with us. He is the current director of the Oxford Paranormal Society and Anomalous Studies and Observation Group. He's also a U.S. Army veteran, spent some time in Afghanistan, and he is involved heavily in this fascinating project right now called the Meadow Project, which has been dubbed the Skinwalker Ranch of the South. A great book here. I highly recommend you pick it up. And the man is with us this evening. Trey, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for having me. It's a real honor to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Great to have you. We met at Laughlin, the UFO mega conference there. Watched your presentation. It was absolutely fascinating. And, I kind of just want to dive right into it because you started off doing this as a paranormal investigator. We're doing some investigating out there in the woods at a undisclosed location. We're not allowed to talk about where exactly this is, but as you're investigating the paranormal, you start having all these other experiences and start experiencing this other activity that seems to be more UFO and extraterrestrial related. So you want to kind of dive into how all this happened?
Yeah, sure. Being a paranormal researchers yourselves, one of the best way to really dig down into stuff is to follow the folklore. Folklore usually has a nugget of truth, somewhere down in there. So we heard about a haunted road, and throughout the Southland, you have these crazy stories, that the locals tell of haunted, areas. Don't go there at night. Them haints will get you. So, we were warned off of this area, which actually I had a geocache in this general location, and one of the researchers for the geocache had told me that he was accosted by these locals, wearing their overalls and shotguns, saying, don't go down that haunted road or you'll surely die. So as soon as I read the the reports and the review of that geocache, I'm like, a haunted road, don't go there, you will surely die. Yeah, that's where I'm going. That's absolutely where I'm going. And so we I planned this big expedition and couldn't find anybody to go with me. Rats, couldn't get anybody to go. Nobody was interested. Woe is me. And finally, I was able to get some friends to go that I had met, of all places, at a Bigfoot conference. Once again, I'm a paranormal researcher. How I ended up at a Bigfoot conference is an entirely different story. But I met these. Yeah, it does. And I met these wonderful guys at this Bigfoot conference, became very good friends, and decided to go out there with me. So my one research partner, Bob Wilson, who you met down in Laughlin from the TV show Killing Bigfoot and Bigfoot is Real, Bob was there with his research partner, Daryl. And Daryl and I were decided we were going to drive down to this haunted road and do some research. And it was about 20 miles from our base camp. So, Daryl and I were all excited. We thought either this is a haunted road or it's got some cryptid activity or something like that. And we went down there and nothing happened. It was really anticlimactic. So being very dejected on this very cold, drizzly evening, we radioed back to Bob at base camp and said, we're coming back to base camp. We had a few little interesting things, but nothing extraordinary. And Bob said, well, wait until I tell you what happened here. So the whole 20-mile drive back, we were just really anxious to find out what had happened to Bob. And Bob is like a freaky magnet. I mean, just weird stuff happens to him. He's that everybody knows that guy. He is that guy. So yeah, it happens. And so we get back, and Bob was telling us this story that he was sitting there at base camp by himself, trying to stay out of trouble, drinking copious amounts of hot coffee, trying to stay warm on this, as I said, cold winter drizzly night. And like happens, with guys when we're out in the woods camping and drinking coffee, coffee has to go somewhere. It's not like a perpetual motion machine. It's not, yeah, it's not a yeah. What? And so he stepped out behind the camp to take care of some personal business. He got done, and he's standing there observing the evening, and a lightning bolt comes down. And he's like, wow, that storm must be a little worse than I thought. There was a lightning bolt, but there was no thunder. Very odd, just a beam of light. And then right after that, he notices the moon came out, a large circular glowing orb, the moon. And he says, oh, lucky us, the moon has come out, the clouds have moved away. We're going to have possibly a nice weekend, and we won't be, cold and completely miserable. And then, much to his astonishment, the moon started moving from right to left, moving sideways. In this part of the country, the moon doesn't move sideways. I don't know about other parts of the country. I haven't been everywhere, but it's kind of unusual down here. Yeah.
It does in Arizona. No.
Yeah. Well, no, I lived in Sierra Vista, so I don't remember it moving sideways either. So.
No, yeah, I was up by AJ. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so the moon moved and it stopped. And a small dot appeared in the middle of this orb, which he quickly figured probably was not the moon. And this dot grew larger and larger and larger, completely, almost blotting out this orb until all he was left was a circle of light, like a necklace of diamonds effect you have with an eclipse. And then it completely winked out. And that was Bob's experience. And we're like, well, forget that haunted road business. This is where we want to research, this location. And that was, let me look at my notes real here. That was back in January of 2016.
Okay, so and we just 5 years ago. But yeah. That's fascinating. You're up there for something totally different. And it's funny to me, 'cause I've been investigating a long time, and it's always funny to me how you whether it's a building or you're kind of out in the woods like you were, and you're looking for one particular thing, and all of a sudden it's something else that you encounter.
Well, yeah, and I think it's really important that, as researchers, and, we all have to be very careful of, what's known as a normalcy bias. We tend to put things in our personal box. A cryptid researcher, maybe looks at things just from the cryptid box, using the optics of a cryptologist. The ufologist would look at it from those optics, and a paranormal researcher would look at it, from ghosts and spirits and things like that. And so, like you said, you have to step out of your comfort zone and look at what happens. Look at the experience. It's very experiential, and let that drive your direction of your research. And that's what we decided to do. So we, kind of, backed off of the haunted road, aspect, and decided to go into this other, potential area of strangeness. So it was, it had our interest, and we really didn't know about the Meadow at this time. We just know that this particular campsite, we had this UFO sighting. So we went back in July of 2016, about 6 months later, and we started looking at this meadow, this field, which was about a quarter of a mile from base camp. And the reason that field caught our interest is for several reasons. It's imagine a mountain field, a mountain meadow, very, very pristine, very beautiful, very bucolic, just really, really, really nice place, somewhere you'd want to picnic. And we figured that would be a very good place to research for several reasons. Reason number one is it being a big open area. If something moves across this open area, it's going to leave tracks. So if we're looking at cryptids, and this area also has a history of cryptids. Also, we could see where something would push down the vegetation. So it was like a giant track trap, as they call things like that in the cryptid world. Also, it was big enough that we could set teams up on the periphery of the field, and if anything moved across the field at night, we would be able to pick it up with our night vision or our thermal. It had a large ridge to the south of it that we could put teams up on top of the ridge, and they could observe down into the field. So we just thought this would be a really, really cool place to research. So that's what we decided to do in July of 2016, and that's when the real weirdness started happening. We decided we were going to put several teams out in the field with equipped with night vision and thermal vision equipment, FLIR. and have one individual move across the top of the ridge. And if anything was on the ridge, he would hopefully push it down into the field. Would be able to pick it up, film it, detect it, etc. And so we all got set up in the field, had all our equipment ready to go. And once again, this is Bob, the freaky magnet.
Is this the image that you sent me here?
No, this one was not. That was later on. Okay. And,
sorry, continue.
That's fine. And so he gets to a well-known landmark as he was getting ready to make his traverse across the top of the ridge. And he said, "Hey guys, I'm at the fallen tree," and we all knew where that was. And he said, "I don't remember out here. I don't remember walking here." So it concerned us. The first thing that popped in our mind was maybe he was having some sort of medical event. We have several paramedics on the team, right. And they got on the radio and they did like a really quick assessment. They said, "Do you feel dizzy? Can you feel your extremities? Can you feel both hands? Can you feel both feet? Did you fall? Do you have blurry vision?" Thinking it might have been a stroke or something or some sort of epileptic episode. So negative to all of that. He said, "I feel fine. I just really don't remember how I got here." So we've all had those days where you drive to work in a complete oblivious fugue state. You don't remember how you got to work because you're daydreaming or whatever. And we kind of chalked it up to that. Decided for him to carry on his mission and traverse the top of the ridge. So he moved across the top of the ridge, dropped down into the west end of the meadow, and started working his way back east to link up with the team. So as he drops down in the meadow, the team takes their FLIR scope, brings it up to their eye, and they see him walking across the field. They see a man-shaped heat signature, obviously Bob, walking towards them. And all of a sudden, that heat signature turns into a sphere of energy, a ball of heat, and moves several hundred meters in just a few seconds, and then turns back into a man-shaped heat signature. And so they're watching this on their FLIR. They quickly get on the radio and they say, "Bob, are you okay?" And they see this heat signature bring up a radio to its mouth and corresponded with Bob's reply, "I'm fine. Why do you ask?" And they said, "You need to come over here and talk to us." Now, these two gentlemen that observed this, let me give you a little bit about their backgrounds. Daryl graduated from the Georgia Institute of Technology with a management degree rather, has a master's of public administration, and is a 25 plus year career paramedic. A well-grounded man used to crisis situations. His partner was our late partner, Tim. Tim has a degree also from the Georgia Institute of Technology, but dual degreed in philosophy and physics. He was a U.S. Army Ranger and has been working on programs for a large corporation for AI operated autonomous machinery. So very solid, well-grounded men. So they just saw this. And they explained to Bob what happened.
But Bob didn't see anything.
That's where it gets really weird, because they said, "What happened, Bob?" And he said, "Nothing. I was just walking over here towards you." And they said, "No, we saw you turn into this ball of energy and move across this very rugged terrain in just a few seconds." He goes, "No, I just walked over here." So the question is, somebody's time was compressed or altered. And was it their time, their timeline, or was it his timeline? And we still argue to this day.
Did he feel anything at all? Or so he didn't see anything, he didn't feel anything?
No, nothing. To him, it was, he was just walking across the field, just like anybody would take a stroll. So, that was, kind of the apex of our evening. That was, really, really strange. And nothing else happened that particular part of the evening. Later on that night, Glenn, who is our base camp operator and our net control officer, had gotten up in the middle of the night and had noticed a white humanoid shape watching our camp from a distance, like peering around a tree, which is interesting because if you crosswalk the folklore of this area back, there is folklore of a white, Bigfoot humanoid creature in this area. So it corresponded really nicely with that. And he was going to wake up another team member that had a FLIR handy. And before she could get up and get her equipment ready, the creature or whatever it was gone. But, Glenn did observe this thing, which matches with reports of that area. So Glenn told us about that the next morning. We were all intrigued. And Bob, good old Bob, came over with his GPS. Now, Bob's background is he's retired law enforcement, worked backcountry search and rescue in California for years, back in the days when they would drop you off in the wilderness with your search dog, and you would go find the person or whatever, alive or deceased. The helicopter would pick up the individual, fly out, and you would have to make your way back. That's his background. So he's a very competent woodsman, and he has a habit of always running the tracking feature on his GPS that always records where he's been, and it has a track line wherever he was. So he brings his GPS over to us the next morning, and he shows it to us. And he says, I want you to look at this. And he opens up his track line from the evening before. And his track line is several straight lines of 2 to 4 kilometers each.
Okay.
Going point A to point B to point C to point D. Straight lines. You can't move over this terrain in a straight line. It's impossible.
Right.
So how would you move over terrain in a straight line?
Okay. Question now.
In the air.
The first one was your friend Bob? Was that his name?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. Bob. Did he move through a portal? And if he did, did he realize how far and how quickly he moved?
He did not detect a portal this time.
Oh. Okay.
And so it's Mike's over there kind of nodding his head because he's seen the video of the portal.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, well, you should have come out to Laughlin with us.
Laughlin, that's a place to be.
Well, I do love Laughlin. My other question is, you were talking about a geocache. Where was that located?
Yeah, that was located somewhere east of Arizona, and south of the Mason-Dixon line.
She keeps trying.
Like I said,
it's not over.
So these track lines that were straight, this would have been above the tree line.
Oh, absolutely. And that was the only thing we could figure out is either he had a catastrophic failure of his equipment, which just happened to coincidentally coincide with his missing time and turning into a ball of energy. Coincidentally. Or for some reason, he and his GPS were moved in straight lines over the terrain sometime during the evening or during his missing time. We don't know.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was about to ask if like time was off, like on a watch or something like that, but it's not like you guys would have. I guess I'll ask that. Did you guys synchronize going in before that, or just didn't even think of it at that time?
Well, we usually do because we have, like I said, a net control officer, and we, part of our protocol is we check in every hour. We do a radio check, and no, we did not. Nobody had their time, missing. There wasn't like there was 2 or 3 hours off of somebody's watch or anything like that. So no.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. I have another question now. Okay. You had mentioned earlier or another time, another podcast, that the terrain is a lot like Skinwalker Ranch. Are there caves there and tunnels? Could could he have been underground and walking forward or straight?
This area does have mines and caves and tunnels, both natural and man-made. Right. The area where we were walking, and we've become pretty familiar with the area. We have not encountered a cave. There are caves in this, this region, this area, but not in this particular location that I'm aware of.
Okay. No chance he was underground going forward.
Yeah, not that I know of.
Okay.
And it just tossed up a comment there from our friend James Keenan. Hi, Mike, Victoria, and Trey. So great to see James down there.
James is awesome.
Yeah, James is a great guy. So, yeah, I really enjoyed there at Laughlin, just kind of sitting there and watching you and James and listening in. The two of you going back and forth about your experiences, about technology, all of that. It was great conversation.
Oh, well, thanks. It was, James is a great guy. He's a wealth of information, a wealth of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, certainly. And so kind of leading into that, our chat moderator, Alina, has a question. Given that this is known as the Skinwalker Ranch of the South,
right.
Have you been doing were there any new experiments done at the Meadow like the ones on Skinwalker Ranch?
Yeah, that's a good question. Unlike the Skinwalker Ranch stuff, we are self-funded. Wah, 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 so, but we do use some of the same equipment. We do use tri-field, EMF meters, and they also measure RF energy and all of that. So we do that. Something that's been very intriguing is we use radiation detectors, Geiger counters.
Geiger counters, sure.
What we have seen is little tiny spikes of radiation when some of these incidents of high strangeness occur. And when I say tiny spikes, I'm talking, nothing dangerous. The background radiation is about 0.06 microsieverts per hour. And during some of these things, we might see a spike of 0.12 to 0.6 microsieverts per hour. So it's, it's nothing dangerous, but it's, empirically, it's enough, for us to take notice. And I did send you a link. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, of our ST session.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
Well,
I'll forward it to you, Victoria.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. But whenever the entity would answer, we would have these little tiny spikes of radiation, which, I don't understand why and what the phenomenology is behind that, but it was very intriguing. And we've had some other instances where we've had little spikes of radiation. I had a incident there at the Meadow where the only way I can explain it is I became extremely disoriented. Now, a little bit about my background is I'm an Eagle Scout. I earned the Boy Scouts 50-miler award 3 times.
Nice.
I've hunted in North America. I've hunted in Africa, backpacked all over the U.S. So, I'm very comfortable outdoors. I've been to the Meadow many, many, many times. And I became so disoriented in the Meadow that I did not know where I was. I thought I was in another part of the forest. And if it wasn't for my research partner being there and saying, Trey, you made a big circle and you're back in the Meadow. And I argued with her. I said, no, this is something new. We've never been here before. She goes, stop and look around. And it took me about 10 minutes to gather my wits about me. And at that time, we had another radiation spike when that went on of about 0.33 microsieverts per hour. But the disorientation was so profound, I have to wonder, could I have ended up as a chapter in one of David Paulides' books?
That's a good question. Yeah. Could you have, been missing 411? And it makes me wonder, if you're getting disoriented and you're having these radiation spikes, did you experience any sort of, radiation sickness?
No. It was, like I said, it's very minor amounts. It's not,
Okay.
It's, just maybe just a fudge above background radiation, not, anything that would affect you physiologically.
Okay.
But empirically, it's very interesting because you have these little tiny spikes, and also it's very interesting that this area is not too far from one of David Paulides' missing 401 clusters.
Oh wow! And how large is this area? I mean, is it pretty easy to get lost out there?
It's in the nature preserve is huge. Okay, it's a very large area. Yes, you could get lost out there. The Meadow is probably 6 acres.
Okay.
So, but it's one of those things.
There's a chance though you could wander off the Meadow and get lost
and get completely lost. Yeah, if you went in the wrong distance, you could walk for days.
But it's fairly isolated, right? From what I've been reading. Okay, you can drive to the camp, but then you have to pack it in.
Yeah, and that's one of the downsides to it because there's a lot of equipment that we would like to bring out there, and we just can't because we have to, carry it in on our backs. So, unfortunately, if you leave equipment A at the camp, then you get there and that might not be the right equipment, or that might be the right equipment set that you need, and you're stuck with equipment set B. So it's always kind of a gamble making sure you have the right equipment out there.
Can you bring horses? I know a lot of these places you can, like in Arizona and Flagstaff, we could take horses up and stuff, and maybe they could carry.
Yeah, I mean, you could take horses or mules back in here, but I mean,
Okay.
people do ride horses in that area.
Okay. I do have a question. Mike was on the Alaska Triangle, and who knows, there's more than one triangle. I only thought it was the Bermuda Triangle. Is this possibly in a triangle area of the South of weirdness? Oh, yeah, I know the South, but, is there like a geographical triangle that, other anomalies are happening there?
It could be. Here's the interesting thing is, we just sort of stumbled into this area. We just lucked upon it. Mm-hmm. You have to wonder how many people have these areas of high strangeness in their backyard, and maybe in their own neighborhood, and they just don't realize it because they haven't discovered it yet. So, absolutely. There could be other areas of high strangeness, located or many miles away. This nature reserve and the contiguous counties have a very weird history, a very strange history of UFOs and Bigfoot and tragedy, murders and bodies being found and just all this crazy stuff. So it's a very weird area where all this stuff happens.
Before we started, I asked you if it was, and I don't want to know where it is, so don't tell me, if it was on a specific latitude line, because there's all these weirdness that goes around. And I found that the 37th parallel really goes from like 23 to 40. So it's like a paranormal jet stream that kind of goes through the country. Do you find that it's in this area? And because there's like cattle mutilations and UFOs and orbs and lights and disappearing people.
Well, everywhere is on a specific latitude. That's
okay.
Kind of how latitude is designed.
Well, I mean, does it fall in that range? Yeah.
So it does fall in the range from the tip of Florida all the way up to the Mason-Dixon line. It's
okay, because I know that.
How's that for specificity?
I almost said something, but I promised you I would say something. So, okay, I have one more question, then I'll be hushed.
Okay, sure.
Being from the South, we do all these Southern things. And when I was a kid, we used to always go to the Okefenokee. Have you been down there? Because I hear there's all these weird things down there. Have you researched down there and done any investigations?
Actually, I used to hunt in the Okefenokee with my father as a child. And I'm from Florida originally, but I haven't researched down there. But I did go down, and my goodness, I cannot remember the woman's name or the town. She had a very famous Bigfoot sighting, and we did go down to her home and do some research one time. So we've done a little bit of research down there. Okay,
because I'd heard that they found actually giant remains. So like the Nephilim were down there also.
Yeah. I mean there's a whole the whole folklore and depending on who you ask, physical history of large skulls and bones and all of that have been found for years, red-headed giants, things like that.
Okay, thanks.
All right. So just to refresh everybody, we're almost halfway through the show here. Just to refresh everybody, this is Trey's book, The Meadow Project. So you definitely want to grab that. It has a lot of the information that Trey's been sharing with us this evening. I grabbed this from him at the mega conference. So I think we traded books is what we ended up doing. Yeah.
And believe it or not, your book is in my box of books that was mailed on the 13th of June, and it still has not arrived yet.
Oh no!
Wow. Thank you, U.S. Postal Service.
Yeah, they were terrible around the holidays too. There were things that were shipped out the end of November last year, and it was middle of February, and I was still giving my mother Christmas presents. So
Yeah.
that was crazy. But so you had sent me a handful of photographs that you had captured up there
Right.
in the meadow. Do we want to go ahead, since we're about halfway through the show now, go ahead and
Yeah,
discuss those?
sure.
Anybody listening to the podcast later on Spotify, iHeartRadio, or when we run syndicated on KGRA radio, apologize that you're not going to be able to see the photos, but we can at least describe them. So, all
Okay,
right,
so
this,
yeah,
first one here.
that is our team, and that was during February of 2017. And our team members in the middle of the meadow, and they're facing south, saw what appeared to be a box or a cube appear on their FLIR. So they're watching this cube manifest itself as the FLIR unit picks up variances in heat. And before they were able to hit record, this box or cube had we decided we were going to dispatch a team to where this cube was. And this is a still from a video. And of course, what you cannot see from this still is just a few moments after the team moves beyond where you see them here, they completely disappear off of all of our equipment. They're gone. They vanish. And then we have video of them coming back out of the remnants of this cube or box. The interesting thing is, during the after action review, which I have the transcript of that in the book, is the individuals that went into this area. I'm just going to jump out there and call it a portal. Why not? We're among friends.
Sure.
Woohoo!
May as well.
And they described it as when they went in there, it was they did not encounter any brambles, any bushes, any briars, roots, anything like that. They just walked right into it, and it was extremely dark, like a velvet curtain had dropped over them. That dark and dense, and it was cold. And we, it's possible that coldness is what our equipment was picking up. The heat difference caused by this portal or vortex or whatever. And when they came out of it, they encountered brambles and briars and bushes and branches and all of that weren't there when they went in. So there was something about the environment that had shifted just a little bit when they went in, that returned to normal when they came out. Now,
so they believe they actually walked into this portal?
Yes.
Okay.
And what's interesting is I took a video during the same time of year of that area of a team walking to that, and you can see them, clearly on the video. And what's even more interesting is that the vegetation is so sparse during that time of year, is you can actually see through the vegetation all the way to the bottom of the ridge and up the ridge. So, there's no way that all of their heat signatures could have completely dropped off of our FLIR unit. Anybody that's watched any military videos of FLIR in action or police or use the units, it's almost impossible to hide from these things. But yet somehow my team was able to do that. And that was the video that I showed there at Laughlin.
Right. Yeah, I recall that. So when this is happening and they're going into what they believe was a portal, and they're disappearing off the cameras, was anybody running EMF equipment? Did they detect anything anomalous on whatever equipment they may have had with them at the time?
Now, what we had with us at the time is we had some K2s, some of the real basic EMF. Didn't really detect anything. We don't really detect a whole lot of EMF, in this area. At that time, we didn't have Geiger counters, so we didn't have that equipment with us. So pretty much what we were picking up is heat. And another thing that gets really weird is about the time that the team was entering into this area, this anomaly, is one of my team members pans her FLIR unit to the right. And there was a small copse of trees, maybe 40 meters from where we were at. And she says, "Who or what is that?" And there are two heat signatures that did not correspond with any of our team members. Like I said, we have radio contact. We use kind of a we're kind of disciplined when we're in the field. We know where everybody is at all times. Did not correspond with any team members. And these two heat signatures were about 6 foot tall, maybe 24 inches, 2 feet wide, like something was watching us, and then dissipated.
Do you use any sort of body cameras or GoPros or anything like that when you're out there in the field?
Yes.
In the meadow?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we do. We run GoPros and all of that.
Okay.
Did you ever see these two figures again, or was it just this one time?
Actually, prior to that, when the team originally had dropped off of the ridge using kind of the same, same tactics as before, right before we dropped off the ridge, we had seen a heat signature down in the meadow that did not correspond with any of our team members. And the heat signature looked like it was about 6 foot tall, and then it dropped down to like 3 foot, then back up to 6, and then to two heat signatures. We're going back to what we discussed earlier. You were a paranormal researcher, and you were picking up heat signatures like that. What would you say those were? Ghosts. That's what a normal guy would say. UFologists would say, they're aliens or ETs. So, all we know is they were, man-sized heat signatures that did not correspond with any known team members, very much like the heat signature a human being would put off, that we can't explain.
So is a heat signature not a cold signature?
Well, a heat signature meaning it's a variance of heat, either presence or absence of heat.
Yeah. But it was showing up warm, not cold?
Yeah, I believe so. I would have to go back and look at the settings on the equipment.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, that's fascinating for sure. So you have some other photos here. Now this one, this was Bob?
Yeah.
I believe you told me.
That is Bob. That is April of 2018. We had done some different kind of stuff and we had backpacked to a similar meadow about 7 miles away. So we packed our equipment 7 miles into this other meadow. There on Friday evening, we had come back to the original meadow on Saturday, and this is a still from a video taken that Saturday evening of obviously a large hulking figure watching us from the tree line, which is interesting because we also have some photographs from 2017 of what appeared to be a cryptid during the daytime watching us from the wood line. So yeah, that's a pretty neat, some neat footage right there. But you can see it's large. It has a head, large shoulders, arms. Very strange, very distinctly different and colder than its surroundings. Whatever that thing is, it was actually colder than the trees around it.
Yeah, pretty broad shoulders. Like you said, I mean, hulking is kind of a good term for that. So
yeah,
definitely an interesting capture. And then you had this photo of a backpack. So what's the story behind the backpack here?
The backpack is a very odd story too. As though it wasn't all odd. We had gone to research a meadow that, from our reconnaissance using maps and aerial photographs looked very similar to our meadow, except it was about 7 miles away. So we had gone out there and hiked about 7 miles, did some research that night in this meadow, didn't really see a whole lot. Nothing really happened that evening. And we had set up camp on a fire break. Anybody that's familiar with forests here in the Southeast, the forests are very dense. And the state government will cut fire breaks, through the forest to help control any out of control fires. And so we set up on this fire break our camps. We had hammocks and tents. And during the evening, about 2 a.m., if I recall right, two of my members said they light go down, shoot down the fire break, down this correspond, did not resemble a lamp, a flashlight, or anything like that. It was just this beam of intense light. and they didn't think anything more of it and went to sleep. The next day, the one gentleman that had a tent, an electrical engineer by the name of Terry, who's on our team, got up and he noticed that something had happened to his pack. His pack had a stick woven in amongst the hip belt. What was interesting about it is one side of the stick was below one side of the hip belt, and the other side of the stick was above the right side of the hip belt. We looked around to see if that stick could have fallen from a tree, if he could have set his pack down and somehow broke it off of a small dead sapling coming out of the ground. We could find nothing that corresponded to where this stick would have come from. It's almost like something or someone had placed that stick and woven it underneath his backpack, underneath one side of the hip belt and over the other side while he was asleep to message. No, exactly. Nor
Kind of breaking up a little bit, Trey, but yeah, definitely fascinating what's going on there with the stick in the backpack, and so it's just illogical how that would have ended up like that.
It made no sense, and if you're not really paying attention, you could just blow that off and not even notice it. But it was so strange that, Terry stopped what he was doing as we were packing up the next morning and said, guys, come over here, look at this. We're not going to touch anything. Let's try to figure this out. And as much as we tried, we could never come up with an explanation of how it ended up in that configuration.
Yeah, that's very strange. Have you had other occurrences like this where equipment has been manipulated in such a strange way?
Not so much that particular way. Now, we've had myriad equipment failures. That just goes with the territory that's been doing this kind of stuff for any period of time. Has battery drains. I've had my night vision camera quickly. When I left camp, ghetto doesn't work at all. Frustrated. Back to camp works fine. We've had 2 drones get fried. Just completely, inoperable and had to be sent back. So, but as far as stuff being manipulated like that, that was about the only time that I recall something is that obvious was the backpack.
Victoria, looks like you want to ask something.
Yeah, but I shouldn't. So
you got that smile over there that says, "I have a question."
I have lots of questions. Do you know what the mineral composition is of that area? Is there a lot of quartz or?
Yeah. It's kind of quartzy. Yeah.
Quartzy.
That's a geological term for you non-scientists.
That's a highly technical geological term. Yeah, quartzy.
Okay. That's where I would live. Someplace quartzy.
I'm a rockologist.
There you go.
I love my rocks. I got my rocks. Well, is there anything that would make some sort of naturally occurring radioactive leakage into the atmosphere? Because you kept saying you were getting radiation hits or spikes when things were starting to happen.
Yeah, that's a fair question. Radon gas is not unknown in this region. Arizona and some Skinwalker Ranch is an area that's prone to radon. That could be true. You do have some natural background radiation everywhere. So, it's possible. We really don't know what's causing these spikes. Probably one of the most significant spikes we had, we were out researching the Meadow, and Bob, once again, was back at camp by himself. He was having some health issues and wasn't able to go out with us. And as he was sitting at camp, he heard a vessel or a craft come by our camp. We were in a little bit different location because COVID had shut down campsites in this preserve. And about 20 yards from the campsite was a long road, traversed the nature preserve. Mm-hmm. A vessel or a craft go down the road, and it was a chert road. And he lived, in the country in the South knows that very distinctive crunchy gravel sound of when something drives down one of these roads. He heard that sound but saw no lights. It was completely blacked out, whatever it was. This was an extremely dark, moonless night. Extremely dark. You could not drive down this road without using the most advanced Generation 3 night vision equipment safely. You just couldn't do it. And when this vessel or craft moved past the camp, he could hear it. He had a radiation spike of about 0.6660 microsieverts per hour. That corresponded exactly when whatever that thing was passed by.
That's interesting. So what do you think it is?
Yeah.
Do you think it's UFO related or something natural from this earth?
Well, here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay. The whole thing's been interesting.
As if it's not all,
Absolutely.
Is, beware of labels, beware of boxes. Is, UFOs, are they extraterrestrial? They're using the term UAP now, unexplained aerial phenomena. So, and a lot of people are looking at maybe dimensional issues. John Keel talked about the ultra terrestrials. They weren't necessarily extraterrestrials. They were ultra, meaning above or just out of phase of Earth. I use the term paradimensionals. That's a term I use. Is they're above or outside of our dimension, just shifted just enough that maybe we can't perceive them. And maybe
But here with us.
Yeah.
And as they go about their business, whatever their business is, maybe there are small indicators or small changes in the environment that can be picked up as radio, as EMF, as variants of tip. And so, the term craft, I use that term because that's what it seemed like. But who?
Yeah, that's why I was wondering if it's like a paranormal triangle there, because it seems like it's there, but it's out of phase, like out of sync, sort of. And it just comes back into alignment every now and then.
Yeah. And I think, they're oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Because you hear about some of these, you've said, okay, there's the meadow, and then there's this other meadow that you went and investigated. And you hear sometimes about these different locations that people find in the middle of forest somewhere where things just for whatever strange reason won't grow. And, maybe there is a little growth and it's kind of twisted and contorted. It's very different. And just for some strange reason, things there are different, or like I said, won't grow or what have you. Are you finding that type of stuff there at this particular meadow, and maybe even the second one that you went and investigated, that it's just there's something strange physically about the area?
You can't tell by only 2.5 feet tall, so I was kind of stunning. Hello?
What about? Hi.
You still with us, Trey?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. Yeah, you're kind of breaking up on us a bit.
Well, what about wildlife?
Yeah, well, it's unfortunate. Yeah, it's not a lot of wildlife, but kind of normal what you would expect: turkey, deer, possums, raccoons, things like that. So it's there's not really a lack of vegetation there or any stunted or mutated vegetation. It's just really a beautiful location. And if you didn't know about these really strange happenings, like I said, you would take your hike in here and take your family for a picnic. It's really, really beautiful.
Yeah.
I want to go. That sounds fun. Okay.
So I have one more photo here that you sent along. This strange growth. What's going on here with this?
Okay, that is really interesting. That a sapling in the middle of a creek, adjacent to the area where I became very disoriented. And that's the top of the sapling. That's about 12 feet tall. And the sapling is maybe about 3/4 of an inch in diameter. You can see the trunk of it. and the top of it was formed into a perfect oval. It's almost like someone or something tied or constructed that oval. What's weird about it is it's 12 feet tall. You can't bend it over because it's literally in the middle of this creek. And you can't take a ladder or something and get up to it because there's just not a way to do that. And where it gets kind of funky is that oval is the same kind of shape as you see on an Egyptian ankh. And if you do a little bit more research, what you find is there are certain architectural features throughout the world that are known as the Galactic Keyway. And it's almost like a keyhole type thing. And it's usually a symbol that designates something to do with portals or doorways. And so all you need to do is Google Keyway or the Galactic Keyhole, and you'll have all these examples, structures and and symbols that are usually associated with doorways or portals.
Is that the only one you've seen? I'm sorry. Is that the only one you've seen out there? That's the only one you've seen made like that? Okay.
Yeah, that's yes, that's the only one.
Okay, but you found that in a location in which you were having some experiences, and so you believe that that's the tie-in to some of the possible portal activity.
Are there coincidences? I don't know. It's interesting that that this particular sapling was so strange that it drew our attention when we saw it. It matches a known type symbol, which is usually somehow doorways or gateways, and it's in the exact location that I became extremely had a rating spike at the Meadow where we experienced with a portal.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. So were there other experiences you were having in that area along with what you felt and then the possible portal? Were there other things going on around that sapling?
Back early in our investigations, that particular area, right literally where I was standing when I took that photograph, some team members heard a loud splash in the creek that was between where I was standing and that sapling, almost like something had thrown a rock or a log or something into the creek to get our attention or maybe to distract us. So that particular area, is kind of a weird little, epicenter, for this. So stuff happened in that specific, precise location before. Absolutely.
Okay. So we only have a few minutes left in the show here, about 7 minutes. So I do want you to talk a little bit about what people can find and discover in your book. So that's the Meadow Project.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, we have only been able to touch on, just the proverbial tip of the iceberg. There are tons of information in there. I didn't even get a chance to talk about various businesswoman of the forest, which is a crazy,
that was really
story.
Interesting. The story about the businesswoman. Yeah, I was fascinated by that when you talked about her at Laughlin.
Yeah, that's a crazy story. There's another thing in there about the term Nox Magby. That was a download with one of our team members, which means children of the night goddess. So, the book is just chock full of other bizarre, crazy, weird things, UFO sightings beyond what this evening. So it's, and there is, by many, like it happened. It's available in hard cover and Amazon.com. And personally, I think it's like $4.99 for a
Yeah, Trey's breaking up a bit again here, but we'll go ahead and put the link up. Alina had posted it here to Amazon. So yeah, definitely everybody grab the book. Definitely very interesting, and if you can, make it out to see Trey present at one of these conferences, absolutely go ahead and do so, because he'll show you the photos, he'll show you video footage, all the fascinating stories. Trey, what do you have coming up on tap as far as conferences here?
Unfortunately, I had two online. I had the Phenomenicon in Vernal, Utah. That unfortunately corresponded with the weekend before my daughter's wedding, so I was not able to present at that one. Yeah, and then I was also invited out to the Ozarks UFO gathering in there in Arkansas, and that corresponded with a trip I'm supposed to be taking to Greece and Israel in April. So right now my conference schedule is pretty much open. I don't really have anything going on. I will be presenting to the local Rotarian Club there in Montgomery, Alabama on Friday and giving the presentation there. So if anybody wants to drive down to Montgomery at 7 o'clock in the morning, I'll be there. But
there you go.
So nothing's yeah. So nothing's.
I'll get there the night before.
Yeah. But I'm hoping that I'll get some more, some more offers here. But of course, COVID's got everything kind of messed up right now, so we'll just have to see how that works out.
Yeah, it's kind of made a mess of things here. It's kind of hit or miss with some of the different conferences. So hopefully our paths will cross again here.
Yeah,
soon.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. So a quick question here out of the chat. Has anyone thought, this is from Sarah Porfidio, has anybody thought of the idea that ETs could resemble us and blend in with the rest of society? So straight up ET question.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. That's, you go back and you look at the proverbial men in black, or maybe in our case, the woman in black, or the businesswoman of the forest. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I think.
Yeah, businesswoman of the forest. Was she an ET?
But she went to your school, right? Y'all have the same degree?
Yes.
Well, that was the fascinating thing, is there were so many things similar with her and you.
It's like she knew what you were thinking before you thought it, kind of.
Yes, and as it turns out, I was contacted by a psychotherapist in Turkey, of all places, who knows her. She is a real person.
Really?
Yes, and she was there that evening, but from her perspective, nothing odd happened.
Ooh.
But part of this, right? But part of the story was, if you remember, she urinated in front of us. Just
bizarre.
Well, that's the South for you. We're like that.
Yeah.
What do you think? Crop circles.
No,
Wheat fields. You just don't want to know.
Don't even want to go about.
That's a whole new take on crop circles, Victoria.
Yeah, no.
I grew up in the country. I know these things.
Yeah, no.
Anyway. Oh, look at the time. I'm just kidding.
Look at that.
So, and there's James throwing out the idea of, was it possibly possession?
Or could she have been cloned, maybe even? Duplicated, replicated.
That is, an excellent question. Is ability that her did not detect because she's being controlled by. Absolutely.
Okay. Wow. All right. So, all right. Well, we're going to have to go ahead and wrap it up, my friend. Again, one more time, where can people find the Meadow Project? So,
Amazon. Where's
Amazon.com?
Where's the geocache?
Yeah, and I'll put the link one more time up here from when Lena posted it. So, all right. So, Trey, thank you again so much for joining us this evening. Everybody, go ahead, pick up his book, catch him whenever he's presenting again, and any other podcast that he may be on. He always has fascinating information for everybody.
Well, thanks for having me. It's been nice to see you, and it's nice
It's nice to meet you.
All right. Have a good night, Trey. Take care. And that was Trey Hudson. So
I'm still going to find it.
You're going to try to find it.
I got an idea where it's at.
Unfortunately, he was having some technical issues there, but definitely a great guy.
There's a hurricane or something blew in yesterday, or really bad tropical storm.
Yeah, they have some storms going on down south, so that could be playing into it, and who knows? I mean, it's computers, it's technology.
Mercury.
We've had guests on the show that, like when we've had Sam on, and Sam Baltrusis, and anytime he goes talking about the man in the hat, just boom, it just technical issues. Covered that in the Shadow Dimension.
I remember. That's awesome, by the way. Now on Tubi?
Oh, yeah, now on Tubi.
Yeah. I've told so many people, they're like, oh, yay, great.
Yeah, you can watch it there for free, so go check it out.
Yeah.
So it'll be coming to other platforms, too. I just got a notification today that, who was it that picked up on it? I'd have to...
CBS? No, more like
NBC.
NBC.
I wish. Yeah, I wish one of the bigger ones like that would pick up on it. I don't have the window up here. But another one. It's a new streaming service, and they grabbed it. So, okay, cool. I'll let everybody know when it actually goes live. Because there are other ones, like Plex picked it up, but they haven't started airing it yet. So
it's amazing. Congratulations. Yeah. That's wonderful. Job well done.
Thank you. Well, and thank you for being a part of it. So
episode 2.
And 1. You're there in 1.
I am?
You are. For a couple seconds, you are.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Watch the interview with Sam. Watch the interview with Sam. You're in there.
Oh, right. I'm in that little corner. Okay. So,
all right. So, yeah, Trey Hudson, the Meadow Project, Explorations into the South's Skinwalker Ranch. So, this is like a big block of people from that we had from Laughlin. So, next week is going to be Katie Grabowski, who's going to be talking about a ranch in Colorado that has had, again, similar experiences like this. And then we're going to be having James Keenan back. So,
is it on the 37th parallel? Her ranch, by any chance? Because I'm thinking it's like a paranormal jet stream. It just
usually it's the 33rd. I'm not sure about this 37 stuff. Usually it's the 33rd. Okay. I don't know.
It's new. Not really, but it's.
Well, maybe there's a bunch of stuff on the 42nd parallel because that's the meaning to life, the universe, and everything.
Well, it really goes from like Roswell, which is 33, up to Skinwalker, which is like 40, 41. So that whole range in there. So I'm saying it's like a jet stream. It kind of Doppler indicates a paranormal before.
I mean, that's a pretty wide swath. Okay.
Yeah. Well.
All right, let's go ahead and get to the shout-outs. So, again, thank you, Victoria, for co-hosting. Alina, thank you so much for moderating the chat. You guys are a little quiet down there this evening. Not too many questions, but we appreciate those who did ask questions. So let's get to the participants tab. I do see Hollywood Road Media's Fairy Queen Diane Hilbert's down in the house. Adam Tillery is there. Always lurking, but always there. Helen Espinoza, thanks for joining us this evening. Jill Nimchinsky, thank you once again. Mary Mitchell, thanks for joining us tonight. Sarah Porfidio, thank you very much for joining us. TFT Tarot for today, good to see you tonight. There's Jennifer Bloomer. I know Robert Hanna was there as well. Zippy Davis making an appearance. Good to see you, Zippy. So, it's been a little while.
Blast from the past.
Then, blast from the past. There we go. Of course, we had James Keenan there with us tonight. That was fantastic. EEQQ, thank you as always. Let's see who else. Kind of scroll through. Mary Haygood, thanks for joining us tonight. Summer Dreams it was there. Guardian Echoes, that's Nicole. And see, Fungi, who listened but did not check because she had to do dishes.
Sometimes
dishes happen.
A woman's job is oh no, that's not a woman's job. No. We women never stop.
You know, you just got this video banned by YouTube.
The hand that rocks the cradle. I was sanguinated this week. I don't know.
So, and Alex Lopez, thanks for joining us. Yeah. Just sexist remark. You just got us banned. Thank you, Victoria.
Do I get a week off? No, I'm just kidding. No.
Yeah.
No.
Well, you know, it's crazy because like Facebook has been putting people in Facebook jail just for like, you know, reposting like legitimate news articles, and they'll just repost it on their Facebook, and all of a sudden, boom, jail time. It's crazy.
I got put in Facebook jail like a month or so ago for something I posted 4 years ago. I was like, come on, get a life. You know, no one's even looking at this.
Yeah, something like that happened to my buddy Ron, who actually is the composer of our intro music. Yeah, he got put in Facebook jail for a little while because of something he posted. Yeah, it was like years ago like that.
It was actually really funny. It wasn't even bad. It was a Valentine's thing. It was, you know,
it's ridiculous.
It was a Facebook memory, and you know, I don't. Whatever.
Facebook memory, and they ban you for it.
Yeah, I'm like, what? I don't get it.
Oh well. All right, everybody. Next week, like I said, we have Katie Grabowski to talk about. She's the Colorado director of MUFON.
Oh.
She's going to be.
Sorry. Okay.
What?
I remember Jeremy talking about her.
Yes, Jeremy talked about her.
Yeah, I remember her.
Yeah. Katie was speaking, gave a presentation at Laughlin. Jeremy came to watch. That's when we met Jeremy, finally. And then, so she'll be talking about a ranch in Colorado that has, you know, quote unquote, high strangeness going on. So it'll be interesting.
It will be.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. You have a great night. We will see you next week. Those that are part of the Connected Universe portal, tomorrow night, 8 o'clock p.m., Wednesday, we're going to be talking about ancient symbolism. So we're going to be getting to some cool stuff tomorrow night.
Is this the snake? It's the snake, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll be talking about the Ouroboros. So let me go ahead and...
It's not what I called him, but okay.
Yep. There we go, connecteduniverseportal.com. So join us for Connecting the Universe. See everybody tomorrow. I'm trying to get the video up here. Okay, there we go. Let's see everybody tomorrow.